Hey everyone, I just wanted to give a sort of quick, it's kind of off-the-cuff update on the AT&T Globalist 630. Now, some of you might remember I did a kind of, well, there's only two videos really. I intended it to be at least three parts about this computer, cleaning it, restoring it, going a little bit into the sort of background history of the machine and whatnot, whatever. However, when I came to getting ready to make the part three, I ran into some issues with the system, and let me show you what those issues are. I ended up making a community post where I said that there was three main issues I encountered while trying to use the machine and get it ready to, go for part three, because I wanted to, install DOS, benchmark it, try out a bunch of games, maybe do other stuff with it. And of course, that all the plans halted once I started running into these issues, because I was like, that's really suspicious. The third issue about installing Windows 3.1, that ended up being a result of some bad floppy disks, so that doesn't count. But the other two issues, let me show you those right now, because those are still happening. So the first issue I ran into was trying to install my copy of Quake, and I apologize for the poor lighting. If I turned on my overhead light, it'll completely blow out the screen so you can't see it, and I really don't feel like setting up my filming lights for such a short, simple video that really doesn't matter. Now, I've used this copy of Quake dozens of times. Never had any issues, anything like that. Never had an issue installing. So if we go ahead and install here, we'll just install to the C partition into Quake. Go ahead and let that copy over. Now, it will copy over fine. All the files will copy over, but when you see the issue that I was having, you can see why I was getting a little confused. I thought maybe the CD-ROM or something was an issue. I tried a different CD-ROM, nothing changed. I tried a physical hard drive. I thought maybe the SD card adapter was bad. Turns out that wasn't it either. So I was starting to get pretty perplexed, and when we look at the second issue, you can see why I thought maybe there was some bigger like system instability, like there was something wrong with the actual like motherboard or something. Now here, when we get to the file decompression, see this on this file, broken file, error, installing International Quake registered. If you got a write error, you have run out of hard drive space. I have a 4 gigabyte SD card on here, and we look at the free space. Yeah, I have basically 2 gigs free. So yeah, there's basically no way that I've ran out of space. So very suspicious that it's having an issue decompressing. It seems like it's almost like it's corrupting the files somehow or something. Now the weird thing is, Quake will actually launch if you copy it over from a different system that already had it installed before. And there you go, Quake is running. But it was installed on a different system, and all the files were unpacked on a different system. And here's the second issue. We're getting these weird graphical corruptions on like certain 2D elements, like the id logo is corrupted, the menu text is corrupted, and this isn't exclusive to just Quake. This isn't just like a weird Quake problem. If we look here at Epic Pinball, oh, interesting. Huh. Okay, well that's very strange. Now Epic Pinball is actually displaying correctly. That's really weird. Well, there goes my whole point of trying to show off this, but like this was all misaligned and corrupted, so not sure why Quake is still doing it, and this isn't now. Maybe it's a random thing. I'm gonna reboot the system, and I want to see if it'll pop back up. Let's see about that. Okay, well somehow it's magically fixed itself. Don't you hate it when the one time you want the thing to break and show the problem, it won't do it then? Ah, I just love that. Don't you love that too? I'm a big fan of when it does that. So somehow it fixed itself. I don't think I changed anything. Oh, I have updated the BIOS since I last tried that. This has all been done today. I basically just started messing with the system again today. And this is all like testing and stuff I've discovered just today. Apparently, maybe updating the BIOS fixed it. I don't know. We're still getting the issue with Quake. Still, suspicious things are going on. So let me show you my findings. Now, if you watched the first two parts, you'll know that we added this Promise Ultra 33 ATA controller. Now, if you don't know why we added this, I do recommend watching those videos, but they are quite long. So here's the quick gist of it. On the motherboard, you can actually see it poking out right there, is a CMD 640 IDE controller. That is probably one of the worst IDE controllers in history. It has severe data corruption issues that are really hard to work around. You can do workarounds and disable features of the chip, all sorts of dumb stuff you can try to get it to work. Apparently, if you're running Windows 95, presumably later versions of Windows, the built-in Windows driver for it will actually pre-apply all that stuff and make it not corrupt your data. But if you're using DOS, or especially anything that can use the 32-bit functions of the chip like OS2 or Unix, they will just corrupt data even worse. So it's kind of a lost cause to really try and use this chip. It's just generally advised, if you can at all possible avoid using it, avoid using it. Now, the CD-ROM is still connected to the motherboard's built-in IDE. However, it's labeled ISA for the one it's plugged into, and I think the VLSI chipset actually has an IDE controller built in, and I think that's the ISA, IDE channel. The CD shouldn't be affected of this, so I wanted to, move the main system drive, and this is the original hard drive that has a Windows 98 on it. I'm not planning on using that. I'm just leaving it in there just so I don't lose it. So I wanted to move this over to, something that's not going to corrupt the data. So I found this Promise Ultra 33 ATA controller on eBay. I think I paid like $15 for it. And so that's been the setup. I started running into all these issues, and I actually did like a ton of testing. I thought, okay, maybe the RAM is bad. So I actually ran memtest 86 on here. The RAM passed with flying colors. I've tried like different EDO RAM, same problems, nothing changed. Thought maybe the L2 cache Coast module was bad. Took it out, no changes. I was almost tempted to swap out the CPU just to see if there was some sort of hardware problem, like maybe the CPU was somehow fried in some weird specific way or something. Tried removing the sound card, the modem, nothing. It wasn't until I removed the Promise controller and moved the SD card onto the CMD controller's IDE channel that the problems went away. The graphical corruption went away, both Epic Pinball and Quake. I hadn't even tried updating the BIOS yet. And Quake was able to install just fine. I was like, huh, so the thing that was supposed to save me from the corruption ended up causing corruption. Thanks. I'm so glad my decisions to better the machine only made it worse. So then I tried a bunch of different stuff. I tried updating the BIOS to the latest BIOS, which is actually the NCR BIOS. It's not an AT&T BIOS anymore. Whatever, I don't care. That didn't fix the card causing the issues. So then I thought, okay, well, this is supposed to be a plug-and-play, or, well, plug-and-pray in this case, card. Thought, okay, maybe it's still having some sort of, resource conflict. And I looked up the manual, and it did say to check in your motherboard BIOS to see if you could manually set the IRQ of this if you needed to. So I tried that. I've also tried it in all 3 PCI slots. I tried setting different IRQs for it. I did actually get it to lock up a couple times by trying that, so clearly I got it to conflict with something, but none of the other IRQ settings. It only let me choose from 9, 10, and 11. None of the settings I chose actually fixed the issue. So that's where I'm at with this system. I really don't want to use the CMD controller because I didn't really want to turn this into a Windows 95 machine. I wanted to use this for DOS. I mean, it's a 1995 system, a very high-end 1995 system, and we got an S3 Trio 64 you know, a Pentium 100, and a, beautiful socket 5 motherboard, 16 megabytes of RAM. I mean, that is a perfect. It even had a Vibra 16 Sound Blaster, like a decent Vibra 16. This is like the perfect MS-DOS gaming system. And like, sure, I already have one. I have a K6 system, but I've been running, honestly, Windows 95 more on that than I have DOS lately. So I thought, heck, this thing would be a perfect DOS system. I really want to use DOS with it. And of course, then I had all sorts of issues with it, and that didn't pan out. I do still want to get this machine going at some point. I don't know when, but I think I am going to have to go the SCSI route. I did consider it originally until I found this on eBay for not that much. The card could be defective. I have no idea, but I don't think so. It works well enough that I think it's probably fine, and there's just some weird conflict on the system. And I actually already have two PCI SCSI controllers. They're both Adaptec. I think one's a little bit newer, one's a little bit older. My only problem is that that's all I have in terms of SCSI. I have like a single SCSI hard drive that's out of like a DEC machine, and it's probably like 100 megabytes or less, so I really don't want to use that. That is way too small, and it probably doesn't even work anymore. Plus, I don't have any 50-pin SCSI cables, so at some point I will break down and I will buy a SCSI cable and probably like a blue SCSI or some sort of SCSI emulator, a Zulu SCSI, a SCSI to SD. Probably blue SCSI because it's the cheapest, and I don't need any super advanced features. All I need is it to take the role of this. That's all I need. Just have an SD card that stores the data and acts as a hard drive. That's literally all I need it to do. That's gonna cost me probably like 40 bucks at least, so I don't know when I'm gonna get around to doing that, but at some point I will. I just didn't want to leave it hanging on an open thread for... How many months has it been? It's been like at least 4 months since I uploaded that video, the last video at least, and I felt kind of bad that I really didn't have any sort of resolution for it. So here we are. This is what's been happening. I did get to the bottom of it. It's the Promise Ultra card. I just wanted to tie off the thread to at least say the machine seems to be perfectly functional. It is just this, and I will address it at some point, maybe soon. And to the probably 2 people that actually wanted to see what happened with this machine and stuck around for that, thank you. So thank you guys for watching. I do have a bigger video coming up. I have, I think most of it filmed, scripts written and everything. I just got to edit it. So that should be coming out hopefully somewhat soon, but yeah, I just thought this update was necessary. So thank you guys for watching, and have a good one.